Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Union or Bust, Organizing Monster here with Chris Lopez.
How's everyone doing? Chris Lopez, your union brother on TikTok, Instagram, all the platforms. Welcome to another edition, a special edition of Union or Bust. We're going to be covering a strike here. I want to welcome Dannel Dannel
Sure.
Jurado. Say that right?
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Anyway, he's part of Kickstarter United, part of OPIU 153, if I'm not
hmm
mistaken. And you are a software engineer. And
Yes.
and you've been on strike for over 30 days. Tell us a little about yourself, Danelle.
Yeah, that's oh man. I don't know when you guys post these, but today is November 1st, and so officially we've been on strike 31 days today, which is crazy to think about. Um, yeah, a little bit about me. My name is Dannel Jurado. I am a software engineer. I'm based in New York City. So if you hear the train in the background, that's what's going on. Literally, the subway runs right over there. But yeah, I've been a software engineer for about 15 years, and I work at a company called Kickstarter. Some people aren't familiar with Kickstarter. It's essentially a crowdfunding platform. So people come to Kickstarter with an idea. They don't really like they put up a page and they say, hey, is this good for us to put on the platform? We do some like very basic checks, like make sure it's not illegal, make sure it's not like pornographic, like make sure like a bunch of stuff like that is like checked off to make sure that people are using the platform responsibly. Make sure that it's a real person, it's a real idea, stuff like that, right? Um, and so they come to that platform and they put up their page and it's crowdfunding. And crowdfunding, if you're familiar with other names in the space like Indiegogo or GoFundMe, like Kickstarter's been doing it for a very long time. This is our 16th year as a company, so about 1 year longer than I've been doing software development. And yeah, we organized in starting in 2018. We finally came to form our union in 2020. Um, Unlike many unions, we're what's known, or not unlike many unions, like some unions, I guess I should say, we're what's called a wall-to-wall union. So that means that everybody in the workplace who is not a manager, who is not a confidential employee, is eligible to be in the union. And so every US employee of Kickstarter is in our union. So we have 59 people right now in our union, of the 104 employees that Kickstarter has, like overall, right? So, so yeah, yeah, we organized in 2020. Some other stuff happened in 2020. I don't know if you guys remember the COVID-19 lockdown thing that happened,
I think so.
but yeah, yeah. So that was pretty big. It forced us all to go remote. So we've been remote for since 2020. And we had the very interesting first challenge of bargaining our first contract entirely remotely. So we can't hold the bargaining team from both sides on the table for like a late night session or anything like that. We had to do that all fully remotely on Zoom. So yeah, but we've adapted to being remote. We've adapted to all that stuff, and uh, here we are in 2025 bargaining our second contract, which brings us to why we're out on strike, which is we've been bargaining this contract for since April, so about 6 months now. And we have gotten to a place where our contract expired in July. If you're familiar with like the modern sort of clauses in contracts, some contracts have something called what's known as no strike, no lockout.
Yeah.
So it is a proposal in your contract that basically says the company promises to not lock out the workers from doing work, while the workers promise to not go on strike
Mhm.
during the period in which the no strike, no lockout thing is in place. So yeah, so we're out on strike now a month, and just to get it out of the way, because I'm sure we're going to talk about it a bunch. Our demands are pretty simple. We have had for the last 3.5 years a 4-day, 32-hour work week with no loss in pay, which is pretty monumental. Like it's when you think about it in the scheme of labor, like this is what we have spent 100 years fighting for. Like this is coming a little bit from an awkward place because it's coming from people going, how can people be happier at work, and not necessarily like what is the well thought like labor thing for this thing, right? And so a lot of the original reasonings for Kickstarter even undergoing a pilot to see if the 4-day work week worked were this: how do we be happier at work, right? So
I,
so yeah,
I'm so
go ahead.
glad when I was looking, you're talking about the 32-hour work week. Juan and I, we've had podcasts about the 32-hour work week. So we're going to probably pick your brain a little. AI,
Everything you want.
AI,
Yes.
is something that people are talking about. And you being a software engineer, you probably, have a little bit more context into AI. So if technology is making your job more efficient, and I honestly think the 32-hour work week is inevitable. It's going to happen.
Right.
It's just people have to want it to happen. So tell us about the 32-hour work week and how it impacts you in your current contract.
Yeah. So in our current contract, sort of towards the end of our period bargaining our first contract, um, the management team came to us as a union, and knowing that they can't unilaterally change subjects of working hours, they said, hey, could we have a space in the contract for us to conduct a pilot for the 4-day, 32-hour work week? And we were like, hell yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it. Like that's why wouldn't we be forward thinking about that? We're a fairly progressive company. I think that this is great. I think that this sets a great standard, and so we said, okay, cool. We allow the employer to conduct a pilot for the 4-day, 32-hour work week. The first year was interesting, I would say. It had a lot. I don't know what your familiarity is with like office jobs, but a software job is very much an office job sometimes. And many office jobs have a lot of unnecessary stuff that happens. And so part of the first year for us was to lean down like all of the little things that felt like they were wasting our time. And just like, oh, do we need to have this meeting? Like the joke that goes around online very frequently is like, could this meeting have been an email? Like could this
Yeah,
meeting
I've
have
seen
been
that.
a Slack message? So we did that. That was our first year, and I think we were fairly successful at it. And then in the second year, they changed the terms of the pilot around a little bit. They adjusted our vacation days because they realized that like we were getting like, uh, oh no, we were getting too many vacation days or something crazy like that. And we are just like, whatever. Like we're gonna roll with this. Like we still think that this is a good thing for the company. We still think it's great for attracting talent, which was pretty important in the organization, right? Like, and so they just as the question everybody has when we talk about our 4-day work week is, so what are the days, right? Like what are the days? Is it Monday through Thursday? Is it Tuesday through Friday? And in general, our common working days are Monday through Thursday. And in the first year of the pilot, it was Monday through Thursday. And if you had a Monday holiday, we got the Monday off. So you would almost have like a 3-day work week some weeks.
Oh wow.
And people, no, and that was the reaction a lot of people had, right? And so some people went, "Ooh, those 3-day work weeks can actually be pretty disruptive if you're trying to get a bunch of stuff done." Right. And so we were just like, yeah, we don't necessarily agree that that's why they're disruptive, but I think we can plan better for them and stuff like that. But they're like, what if on a 3-day work week, or what if on a work week with a Monday holiday, which if you're in the United States, there's a lot of, right?
Hmm.
If you have a Monday holiday, what if that week, the 4-day work week, shifts to Tuesday through Friday instead? So we have what we're called working Fridays sometimes. And so that kind of assuaged a lot of the management concerns. Some workers will still use up a vacation day so that they have like their regular weekend and then the long weekend kind of a
Hmm.
thing. But I think I think it works out for both groups of people, you know, like and we've been the most productive that we've ever been. Like that's the thing that's like weird to even talk about because people is like you have less time so you can't do as much. It's like no, we have less time so that we can focus, so that we can do more stuff, so that we can come back from our weekends rested, you know, like, and we're coming back from those weekends wanting to work. Like a bunch of people go like I'm ready for Monday instead of like I don't know if you're have you ever heard the term the Sunday scaries?
No, but is it the case of the Mondays?
Yeah, it's a case of the Mondays a
Yeah,
little bit also, but it's like it's the thing that predates that when you know the Mondays are gonna happen, and so you kind of
yeah,
have the Sunday scaries, right? So we have people who just go like, I don't fear coming back to work on a given work week anymore because I'm just like I had a good weekend. I was able to rest meaningfully, fit in parts of my life that I would have otherwise not been able to have fit in, and
yeah.
then get back to work and bring my whole self to bringing and doing the work, you know? So,
And
Right.
the
So,
32 hour, oh, sorry. I
go
was
for
going to
it.
say the
oh,
32-hour work week, you get paid for if you were to work a 40-hour work week. It's the same pay,
correct.
right? So
Yes.
you're sharing in the prosperity of AI, it seems like. If the job
Uh,
is that kind
yeah,
of like in a way?
a little bit. Okay. So I want to clarify some stuff because I think that you are correct that many of the proponents of a 32-hour work week also think that that goes hand in hand with AI. Um, at Kickstarter, we're a company that believes in like creative work. And so using AI for us to develop the platform is a little bit fraught for our creators who are artists, who are writers, who are comics creators, right? So it would of course be like a little bit of a contentious thing for us to say, okay, now just use AI for
Yeah,
enabling the 32-hour work week, right? Like, um, that doesn't mean that people don't use AI, right? Like, that doesn't mean that that's not a thing, but we don't put it out there as if it was just like, just let the AI do this thing,
yeah,
right? Like, it's an AI with a very human supervision to make sure that the thing that the AI does might speed up somebody's work, but it's still something that people will look over and go like, oh yes, okay, cool. The AI didn't hallucinate something. It didn't fuck up someone's like intention or like meaning when they were trying to say something, right? So yeah, and I'm personally very anti AI as a software developer, which is confusing to a lot of my friends and family, um, because I don't know. I'm not gonna relitigate all of that, but I'll just say like I think that it's too intertwined with the sort of like aesthetics of fascism for me to be able to like fully wholeheartedly support it. And I think that that is my biggest concern is like when you see like the official White House account posting an image, an AI generated image of a Studio Ghibliified DHS officer handcuffing immigrant to deport them, then you kind of go to yourself like, man, like this is the AI industry that we're talking about still. Like it's all one part of this very big industry with Anthropic and OpenAI and all these other things. So like what I don't know. Personally, I don't feel like I need it. I do have a lot of friends who are very like coding AI stuff. I think sometimes it kind of moves in the direction of like, I don't want to code anymore. I still really find like a lot of value from writing code, like, and the discovery of like learning how things work. I would be more concerned if a lot of my friends didn't know how those things worked when they wrote them, right? Like, I think that that's really the big harm is in addition to enabling all that fascism that is currently happening, right? Like I think the big harm is a lot of people kind of like offloading their capacity for thinking or critical thinking into this AI and not being able to explain to you like this is how this system works, right? Like if the answer is okay, I know how the system works, I am putting that sort of like an algorithm is just a series. Okay, we're gonna get into this. All right, an algorithm is just a series of steps, right? Like that's really what an algorithm is. And so, when you're talking about like, okay, cool, like what is the series of steps that I would do to use my job, and I can nail those down in such a concrete, simplified way. That is a great use for AI because the AI can just get out there. It's just automation, is what we're talking about
Hmm.
here, right? I'm not going to reopen my book on capital from Marx and talk to you about like automation and all the perils of all of that. But I'll just say like that's just automation is what we're talking about. I think AI is good for that. I think that there are some things that AI has been pretty good at doing in those situations. I don't necessarily think that we're at a point in history right now in 2025 where it is fully enabling somebody to like do less work. I think a lot of times you see all of these people talking about it, and I post about it all the time, like how there's all these consultants that are hired to fix AI code now, and that's kind of
Hmm.
interesting on its own. So I don't see AI as enabling our 4-day work week. I see the 4-day work week being a specific fight that we're having in order to reclaim our lives in modern society, right? In order to reclaim our ability to live our lives, in order to fight back against the ever increasing, that graph of like since Reagan, like the wage gap
Yeah.
essentially growing and growing, like to
Yeah.
fight back against that. Like, okay, they have a wage gap. We're going to get our time back if they're not willing to pay us those wages, right? So, I think that's how I see the 4-day work week. AI may or may not enable the 4-day work week in some places, but I don't think it's intertwined. I think people are going to find ways to and to use AI to undermine labor more than they're going to find ways to use AI to enable the 4-day work week, for example. So
Right.
sorry,
Right.
that's a lot.
I know I had like questions along the line,
Okay, yeah.
but just going back to the when they came to you guys and
Mhm.
recommending this pilot program of a 32-hour work week, that's during the first contract then, right? Like you guys had the first
Yes,
contract and that's why they had
that
to
was
ask you.
yeah. So anytime if they were I believe um, I believe the term of art is like a subject of bargaining, and I think working hours and wages are
Mhm.
mandatory subjects of bargaining. And
Right.
so they would have had to say, "Hey, can we modify this?"
Yeah.
Right? And we would have had to either agree to or bargain over the terms, right? Because it was a pilot, we left it very open ended. We said, "Hey, like this is what we don't know what this looks like. It's up to the company to find out what this looks like, and we're giving you the term of this contract to find out what that looks like, right?
Uh,
Like so.
And so for this contract, they're trying to codify that into the agreement and they're pushing back
Correct.
on that. Why are they pushing back on that if that was their idea, if it's working? Why are they pushing back on it then?
It's a
What's
great
their excuse?
fun. That's a great question. um,
We haven't figured it out
uh,
yet.
no, so the thing that has been repeated to us at the bargaining table is that um, they have no intention of rolling back the 4-day work week, but they continue in every proposal that they've sent us, they continue to have this like little asterisk at the end. It's like, but if we ever needed to permanently roll back the 4-day work week, and we're just like, do you know there's a term in literary fiction, it's called Chekhov's gun, where there's like someone loads a gun and sets it in the scene, and then the whole expectation is that the gun will be used in that scene, right? This feels like the Chekhov's gun of bargaining your working hours in some ways. Why are you loading this gun if you intend to never use it, right? Like,
Well, that's a good
oh,
term. I never heard of that.
yeah,
And like,
yeah, yeah,
we'll probably use that
Well,
eventually. But no,
yeah,
that makes sense. The company always wants to have the liberty and the freedom to be able to make decisions on their own without the union putting it
yeah.
on
It's
paper.
it's about power, right? Like
Power. Yeah.
this is why you see so many there's a very frequent clause slash article in union contracts, collective bargaining agreements called management rights.
Yeah.
And the management rights article is usually that sometimes like ridiculous amounts of pages, like just like 3 or 4 pages of like the management team has the right to do this, this, and this, and this, and this,
Hmm.
and they list those out because they want to be able to retain those rights indefinitely, and they list just about, even if they're not going to use it, they list all those things that they want to be able to do. Our management rights clause in our contract, which you can read online at kickstarterunited.org. There's literally links to go see what the contract is. We post it online because we think that our contract helps educate other folks, and it has, right?
Hmm.
um, our contract has a management rights article of like a page, like, and that was as much as like it started out as 2 pages, if I remember correctly. I was on our bargaining committee the first time around. I think it started on as around 2 pages, and I think we whittled it down. And we're just like, how about just these? How about just these? And they were just like, okay, fine, that's fine. Like, and cool.
I think management rights is because I'm a union representative and I got to
Mhm.
explain things to members. And if something isn't specifically stated in the contract, it falls under management rights. So management has a right to run their business, do
Right.
payroll and, if they need to uh, do the normal functions of business update. They don't call the union and be like, "Hey, we're gonna update our payroll system." No, they just do it. Now they can do whatever they want, but it cannot be illegal, it cannot be unethical, it cannot be immoral, and it cannot be unsafe. So
Yeah.
the management, rights clause is there. If there are things that were taken out, what things do you remember? What was taken out originally? Because that's a very interesting thing you said.
Yeah, you know what? It's been about almost 4 years since since we TA'd that first management rights. It did not change at all in this like contract. So I, I vaguely remember them just having like, it just felt like the kitchen sink of anything that you missed in the contract. It was in there. Um, I, I think that eventually we cut stuff that felt like it was covered. I think most of the things that we cut, we felt was it was covered by other articles of the contract, so it was no need to like specify management rights that that thing specifically was there, right? Like there was something about like discipline that it felt like in the management rights clause it could allow for like extended discipline or some other stuff like that. And we were just like, okay, well, we have a grievance and arbitration article, so like that's discipline right there. If you need to do that, let's talk about it, but like so there was stuff there. It's worth noting that like unfortunately the people that we need to bargain against aren't just Kickstarter, but Kickstarter employed some very notorious lawyers named Littler Mendelson, who are big. If you are familiar with the Starbucks workers, they're the people representing Starbucks,
Yeah.
and have done a number of uh, 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 they've done a
Union
number
busting.
on the union busting of America, right? So yeah.
It's
But
business.
yeah, no, yeah, oh gosh. But yeah, I don't remember exactly what we took out of management rights. I think they were just kind of seeing, it's kind of the spaghetti at the wall, seeing what will stick kind of a situation. And I think we were just like, no, we don't need all of those, and we managed to get them down to a pretty reasonable set.
Right. Hey,
Mhm.
what's the other demands? I know a 4-day work week is one of your main ones, it seems like,
Yeah.
but what are your other demands?
Yeah, so the other big demand, so it's this is something that's probably not very well known outside of the software world. So we're a software company mostly, like we sell a service online, right?
Hmm.
And in software companies, there are many roles that are not just software developer, right? Like there's just like people who are doing customer support, people who are doing like platform safety, like trust and safety is usually the name of the team. We have marketing folks. We have people in our company. We have a group of people called Outreach, which is just talking to creators to get them to use the platform and bring their creative projects. So you like would go out to like New York Comic Con, for example, and talk to all the people in like Artist Alley and be like, hey, like, is there um, like are you thinking of running a Kickstarter? How can we help you run a Kickstarter? All that stuff. And so I always like to call it like these are the humans that you talk to when you interact with Kickstarter, right? And unfortunately, in the technology industry as a whole, a lot of these non-software developer jobs are undervalued by the market. So these are usually the lowest paid jobs in the company. It's because I don't want to get into the whole thing, but I have a philosophy of how software developers are overpaid. I think that that's just true. It's just like a trade that I happen to learn at the right time, and the market values it very highly, right? But uh, that is to say, like, there's lots of folks who aren't software developers, and they're not being paid as well. And in some places, they're being paid under what it would cost to like live in those places, right? And so we've wanted a minimum salary for them so that they can have like at least this basis of a livable wage minimum salary. And then additionally, we have been asking for them to be recognized as more valuable to the organization than than the market value values them at. This is like a very finicky thing. So let's say, and this is, you can look this up in our contract. Currently in our contract, everyone is benchmarked at the 60th percentile of the market average for the United States. What that means is that if you are a software developer in New York City and you're a software developer in Omaha or in San Diego, you would be making, if you were software developers of the same level, you would be making the same amount of money to start at Kickstarter, right? And so that's great. And like I said before, software developers' salaries are somewhat inflated because of their valuing in the market. These jobs, customer support and trust and safety and marketing and outreach, all of these jobs are what I would say like undervalued as a whole by the way that the company is classifying them. And so we think the 60th percentile is not enough for those people, right? Like we want the people that you interact with at Kickstarter to be there for long periods of time so that they build the expertise that they have, as anyone does in any occupation that they have. Over time, you just get better at it, hopefully, fingers crossed, of course, right? Like, but you just get better at what you do, and you're able to have those conversations and be more effective. And we think that that incentivizes people to stay there longer. And with our contract in the union, it has, but we want to go above and beyond to recognize those people and say like, okay, cool. Like, how do we incentivize those people to stay here and not just take the next best paying job that they have, right? So those are the two demands: is the 4-day work week and not just a minimum salary that's a livable wage, but also recognizing that we think that those folks should be valued more.
Yeah, no, that's great. Like you guys are just trying to lift the the floor for your
Yeah,
company and your
exactly.
coworkers. Always when you lift, rising tide lifts all boats type of mindset. It's your coworkers, you guys take care of them, and you guys probably have more of the power dynamics than the other workers do at your workplace because you're
Yeah,
valued more. So you guys are
right.
sticking up for them. That's awesome. Hey, so I wanted to ask you about your strike. So you guys have been on
Okay.
strike since October 2nd, but like, how is the morale out there? Is it still what it was on day one? I'm sure there's challenges out there. And how do you keep people motivated and out there on the picket line?
Yeah, so that's what's really so I I have said a couple of times now that I hate to be the one establishing precedent, but that's where we're at. Like, we have a remote company. Not a lot of fully remote companies have gone out on strike, right? Like, it's like very few fully remote companies are unionized in the first place. Not a lot of remote companies have gone out on strike. So what does a strike look like if you don't have an office to
Mhm.
picket? Like, what does it look like when you don't have a workplace to picket? And so we thought on our toes, and we have virtual picket lines. Like, we have our virtual picket line. Talking to you is part of our virtual picket line in some ways, but also every day we get together and we strategize and we go like, what is the way that we can make our demands heard the most? How do we keep this strike going? How do we keep withholding our labor, which is our ultimate power as workers? How do we keep that going so that we can have a strike that doesn't hurt our creators. It doesn't hurt the company because we want the company to continue existing. We love working there, right? But how do we do it in a way that makes sure that like our power is felt in that moment? And it's been challenging. I think it's been a lot of learning. Our local is fairly old school. 153 has been around for like a fairly long time. I think since the 60s, I want to say, right? And so they're fairly old school. They've never had a workplace go out on strike for a virtual picket line, and so we've been teaching them stuff also. And the fact that we've gotten the attention on like a somewhat national scale, like yesterday Zoran Mamdani reposted on Instagram one of our reels from our Boston strike rally, right? Like, and so
Wow.
we've also had those where it's just like, cool, like we have people who are in our court and they're willing to bat for us and willing to speak for us. And I think that that is a testament to all this work we've been doing on the picket line of doing this relationship building, talking to all these people, doing this organizing, right? Like, one of my coworkers said like a week or two ago, they're just like, being on strike is more work than work, you know? Like, and I'm just like, yeah, that's true. Like, that's fully true, you know? So what you don't see and what the public doesn't see is all of these workers getting together on a Zoom from 12 to 4 or whatever, right? And going like, okay, cool. Like, what is our marketing like? How do we do like telling people about the strike? How do we raise funds to keep our strike fund going? You know, like how do we strategize for our next bargaining session to make sure that that is the most effective bargaining session that we have? Another thing that we've set the precedent for our local is we have fully open bargaining because they insisted on having remote bargaining. We said, all right, cool. That's just a link we can send to all of our coworkers. So now every bargaining session is observed by 30 to 45 of my coworkers.
That's a
They're
lot.
just there. Yeah.
How many
That's
people?
that's
How many people are in the unit?
59.
That's what I was like gonna say. I was like, wow, that's
Hey, quick follow up.
Incredible, right?
Quick
Yeah.
follow up before I forget. So you
Yeah.
all are have a virtual picket line, right?
Mhm.
So Chris has gone on strike, and when you go on strike with a non-virtual picket line, it's a physical. Yeah, at a grocery store or whatnot.
Sure.
Like you kind of see who the scabs are, right? Like talk about
Hmm.
scabs. So you know who's crossing the picket line. Maybe it's easier to hold them accountable. You know who's still for the cause. How do you do that with the virtual picket line? How do you keep each other accountable?
Great question. So while I won't say how we keep track of our scabs because I that's just a part of our strategy, we do have pretty good information about who is scabbing and when they're scabbing. Um, but a thing that we established very early on is to make sure that we know that you're still on strike with us. Like that's a constant communication. We have strike captains, and so even in our like 59 person unit, we have 6 strike captains, and they're doing the work of having these one-on-one conversations with people every day. It's like, hey, like you're still on strike. Great, cool. Is there anything that you need? How can we help you with your needs or your bills or your stuff like that? Right. Like we have that strike fund that I've been telling you about, right? And like we've been paying out from that strike fund for people's missed wages. We also have in New York State and New Jersey, last year or 2 years ago, they passed a bill that claimed that you could collect unemployment while you're on strike. So that's huge, right? And I think there's one in Washington that starts in 2026, and I think there's one in discussion in California. I don't know if it ever got passed or not.
Chris
so.
likes to talk about
Oh
this one.
gosh. So our Governor Gavin Newsom vetoed a bill to give striking workers unemployment
I think that was
benefits,
last year.
and it was yeah.
Oh,
Well,
man.
and so you think about unemployment benefits. I think the max in
California's
it's
450.
450 a week, right? It's not even so.
Well,
And that's the thing. It's like our podcast. It's dedicated to the labor movement. We always say the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. Kitchen table
mhm.
economics. 60% of the population is living paycheck to paycheck. People have trouble paying their rent, paying their bills, and if that were the case in California, that you would get unemployment benefits, while you're on strike, how many people that would help? And it's
Right.
a drop in the bucket, but at least it's something. And
It's
so,
something. Yeah. Yeah,
well,
it's huge. It's a thing that I think I was seeing your episode of Shama or someone where we were talking about like part of all of these fights, like you think of them individually in order to sort of like almost compartmentalize them and not like lose yourself in what it enables, right? But like the fight for universal health care would enable like people to not just be in unions and go on strike, but like just to have that labor power of like I don't have to fear losing life-saving healthcare just on strike, right? Like, and I think that that's huge, right? Like all of the things that you're talking about, like unemployment, like those are things that people say, oh, but why does it matter? Strikes don't happen that often. It's like they should, because work has gotten bad. Capitalism is real bad, right? Like so. So I think that people don't realize how intertwined some of those things can be. Like I was so surprised when one of our reps said, and if you're in New York and New Jersey, make sure that you file for unemployment. And I was just like, oh, that's I didn't even know that that was a thing that I was eligible for. But they were just like, no, you have to do this because it's first of all, it's money that you're owed. Like that is your money that you paid into that unemployment fund, right? But second of all, it's like it's a benefit that your reps and your local politicians and stuff like that they've all fought for years to enable the labor movement to be able to have strikes as meaningful as ours, right? So I don't know. Yeah, it's huge. They're all intertwined, but hard to think about that sometimes because you're just like I just want to get this one done, you know?
Yeah, I feel like there's everything, right? Like if you're in
Yeah,
labor, there's so many fights everywhere. And I mean, yeah, like you said, like there's reps and politicians that fought for that, right? For you all to collect unemployment benefits. And look, we have the bluest states of the whole country, super majorities everywhere, and the governor that ran on universal health care, he he also put the rug under that last year when it was up for a vote. So like politics is kind of like fishy and kind of sucks sometimes, but we just got to keep doing it. And you mentioned Mamdani. Is
yeah.
that what you all are working on too? You all are trying to get support from your union to support him?
So it's funny you mentioned that. So um our support for Mamdani in Kickstarter and Kickstarter United has been very unequivocal. Like it was like from the get-go, right? But that's us, right? That's our workplace. And so we then had the challenge of like, that's 59 people, most of which aren't even in New York City. It's like maybe 30 of those people are in New York City. Cool. All right, great. So then how do you convince your local OPIU 153? How do you convince them to endorse a political candidate? And there was a time in which the local probably would have fallen behind the same endorsement that some of the other locals were making, and at the time that was Andrew Cuomo. And so we went as members. We went to the local and we said we would like the local to consider endorsing Zoran Mamdani, and then the local uh, leadership, of which I am a part of now as a result of my organizing and other stuff, right? Um, uh, they go, well, we're a member-led local, so we need to listen to all of the members of our local and see what they want. So we put out a poll, turned it around in like 4 days time, and had people essentially do the ranked choice ballot that they would
Mm.
have done at the polls, but inside of our local, so we could see where the support was inside the local, and Zoran came out on top. And so then it was a no-brainer because our members could go, the membership, not the leadership, the membership of Local 153 wants the local to endorse Zoran Mamdani for mayor, right? And that was the a big departure from a lot of the unions that were endorsing candidates at the time. And we were just like, we got in there, I think 5 days to the primary election, right? Like that's how hard fought that was. And that all came from member organizing within our local. It didn't come from the leadership. It didn't like the leadership was like putting guards on that to make sure we want to make sure that we're listening to the members in our
Mhm.
local. And I realize that as I said that, and as I'm telling you this now, that's unusual for a lot of places, right? Like
Yeah.
a lot of union members kind of bemoan the fact that their locals don't listen to them, that their locals don't listen to the membership. And so it makes me even prouder to be a part of 153, as small as we are. I think that it says so much in 2025 to not just be a local that is keeping the status quo, but fighting for better, you know, for fighting for the things that are right and like fighting for the things that we think should happen in the world, right? And Zoran lines up with that message for me personally, but it's great to see that other members in our local also see a hope of progressive politics like reflected in him. So yeah.
Hey, when you saw Mandani repost one of your posts, how did that make you feel? I mean,
God.
were you expecting it? I mean, were you just
So
like,
So we were kind of expecting it. They
okay,
didn't tell us when, but but one of our organizers, and I want to shout out Sam, who's one of the staff members at our local. They're very in touch with the Mamdani campaign for just local grassroots organizing reasons, right? Like, and so Sam was like, they brought it up. It's like, hey, like we've turned out OPIU's representation to all of these events, all of the Mamdani events that needed a union member there or a group of union members there, right? We've turned out all these people. And so we were like, it would be great. We have a strike going. It's a pretty historic strike, and we have a strike going. And we would love for the Mamdani team to repost one of our posts to inform people about the strike. And they were like, yeah, that sounds great. We can do it. We don't know when, but because again, Zoran Mamdani is maybe the busiest man in New York City, and that says a lot, you know, like,
Yeah.
and so, but we didn't know when. Their social team is also some of the busiest social teams. Like you've seen how incredible that whole
Yeah.
thing has been, also. But they're just like, we're gonna do it, and I'm just like, great, cool. Um, and then yesterday, my good friend of over almost 20 years now, she was getting married. And so, in between me crying about my friend getting married, I get a notification on my phone. It's like, Zoran Mamdani has reposted your reel. And I was just like, I'm so happy for my friend, but also this, you know, like, and so I had to like contain myself a little bit at that moment because I like very quickly I sent a really quick text to my union's like group chat, and I was just like, Zoran Mamdani reposted our reel, and I was just like, but I'm in a wedding, so I can't do anything right now. And just like,
But don't call me right now.
yeah, no, exactly. And so then like the ceremony lasted maybe like an hour, and then at the end of the hour I pull out my phone and it's full of notifications because I have
Shit.
the union social media, and I'm just like, that's crazy. And Instagram, I don't know if you had this experience, but Instagram tells you like milestones of how many people have
Yeah.
seen your reels.
Yeah.
And it was just like in the same hour we passed the 100, 500, 1,000, 5,000,
Uh,
10,000, 50,000 people seeing milestone. And I was like, that's incredible. And that came from organizing, and that came from our members organizing, and that came from, and it's just more awareness to this strike that we have going on.
mhm.
And again, I the way that I felt was so elated that it had happened on Halloween night of all nights, you know,
That's
like
sick.
kids are running around all of New York City with their spooky costumes. The scariest kid that I ever saw was just a dead on accurate Andrew Cuomo that was walking around the city, you know, like, and then I get home and I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, I think as of before I went to bed last evening, like I think someone, the stat said like over 60,000 people had seen our reel, and I was just like, that's incredible exposure for us. And it
And
was a reel of our Boston strike rally, so that was even better.
that's awesome. And you said like that's exposure to your strike, but it's also exposure to like the worker fight, the demands
Yeah.
you all are making, and like the reasoning behind it and the issues. So it's exposing all of that to the whole
Hmm.
country, really. Everybody's paying attention to this race. And you see how easy it is for a politician to grab a platform. They have a
Yep.
platform, But you know what? You all have a platform too. I've seen your guys' videos and social media. There's a lot of views and attention on it. So labor also provides platforms for these politicians. Like
Right.
here in San Diego, any freaking strike or picket line or action, they all want to be invited to them because it's a
Yeah.
platform for them. It's them taking the selfie and saying, I stand with workers and blah, 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 blah. I remember in 29, I forgot what year it was, 2021, I made a board of supervisor cry. I don't know if he actually cried tears, but I mean, I had a staff person texting me like, "I can't believe you didn't invite us to that action. What the fuck? You had that Democrat, but you didn't have me." It was unreal, man. Like I was like, "Should I take screenshots of this and post it on social media?
Yeah.
Like this is ridiculous." But of course I didn't. But that just goes to show where labor is at now, where labor is strong, labor is providing platforms for these politicians. So it's a very mutual relationship between the politician and union organizing, but it's so
Yeah.
easy.
It's so, yeah, it's so easy, right? Like it's so easy to just give labor a moment of your time for something that, like, and I said this at I presented at a panel a couple weekends ago for something called Circuit Breakers. It's like, are you familiar with like Labor Notes, the conference?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna go there
Yeah.
next year.
So, oh hell yeah, that's
Yeah, we'll
awesome. I'm
see you.
gonna try to make it. I'm gonna try to make it. Fingers crossed. But I presented at a panel at Circuit Breakers, which is like labor notes, but for the tech movement, for the organized labor movement in tech, right? And so, and I was saying like, hey, like one of the things that you don't realize when you do it is such a big gesture to organized labor is spreading the awareness of the fight, of that cause, right? Like I'm the social media person for our union accounts, and so every repost, everything, every comment that I see, like I see those things. The reason I've chosen to see those things, whether the comments are good or bad, I've been online my entire life, like I can
Mhm.
deal with a bad comment, and so, but so that doesn't hurt me. It just goes to show, like, I think that there's one of those things where like every single one that people go and it's just like, I'm quietly reposting this, I'm liking this, like all of those things, like I see those. People see those and they go like, "Oh, cool! Like that person's on our side. That person's on
Mhm.
our side, right?" Like, and I feel like if you live through the end stage of Twitter before it became the Nazi app, right? Like, I think that you will remember how people used to put in their profiles like retweets or non endorsements or
Yeah.
something stupid like that, right?
Mhm.
I don't think that's true. I think you should retweet the shit that you endorse, like I
Right.
think you should repost those things so that you make them obvious and so you stand where you stand in your circle of friends or your circle of followers, like, and so you make your position known. So
I
so
think
yeah,
people
that's it's huge.
people are scared. People are cowards for sure, and I think sometimes social media can be like high school, where it's like, well, I can't be
Yeah.
seen liking your thing or commenting on it, but I agree with it. It's like, okay, you could have shared it and exposed
Yeah.
that information a little bit more, but it's like high school, so I never take anything personal. That's what I've learned being in labor is sometimes the closest people that we have what we think they should be the biggest supporters of us in this podcast. Sometimes they're not. And it kind of
Right.
disappoints us. But at the same time, we've been doing this for 3 years. So we're kind of like, who cares? At this point,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
talking to people like you on the other side of the world, on the other side of the country, on the picket line. You know what I mean? Like we're making connections that are bigger than us now. So these
Right.
little tiny little interpersonal feuds or whatever don't even matter anymore to us.
Solidarity is the answer,
Yeah,
right?
no, and this is the thing that we talk about all the time is that we need to, unfortunately, in the United States in 2025, we're in a moment where we're having to rebuild the class solidarity here, right? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know how often you spend on TikTok, but a frequent TikTok comment that I see is like, they're trying to start a race war when we should be starting a class war,
Yeah,
and I'm
exactly.
just like, yeah, like that's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what all of these governing people, all of these fucking fascists in power, that's what they're saying is they're like, oh, what about all these people doing this? It's like, no, that's not fucking just let Miguel make the tacos. He makes bomb ass tacos, like
Definitely.
yeah.
I was gonna ask you, so you're obviously like a big union activist in your union.
Hmm.
You're extremely active. You said recently you became a leader in OPIU
Yes.
in your local. What are you? An e-board member?
Yes. So I as of late, oh man, it's almost been 2 years now. So as of late 2023, I was appointed an executive board member of the local. 2024, sorry, 2024. Sorry, time blurs together a lot.
Yeah.
But I was appointed an executive board member of the local, and so that means that every month, me and the other members of the executive board and the staff, we get together and we vote on how the local uses its funds, on whether the local should be um, putting its energy and its time and its staff towards certain things, right? Like, and so yeah, um, it's been a very eye-opening experience. I think that once again, I have to shout out 153 for being a local that's not letting history wash over them, but a local that is actually fighting to make history. Like a local that is actually saying, like, it's not just Kickstarter. Like people talk about when we talk about OPIU, we have the very weird conversation is like, oh, what are you guys a youth of? And we're just like, everything is the answer. Like we got so many things, and people are just like, well, that's not a real thing. It's like, no, like you have to understand, like all of these workers' fights are related,
Hmm.
and so we the United States doesn't have the individual trade power that we wish it had. So a union like OPIU is an ideal candidate for being like, okay, maybe all of the electricians aren't in their own union, but maybe we can get this whole like office to be in their whole
Yeah.
union. Like I tell the story very frequently of a conference that I went to in 2023, that was or 2022, that was everybody at in our international, and I got to go to, we do like the international educational conference for the union OPIU, and I got to sit at a table in which I, a software developer, was sitting at the same table learning from the same things that a nail salon technician was learning at, right? A paralegal in like immigration rights court stuff, right? Like um and he was very specific about this, so I'm always trying to get it right. The mechanic for the non-nuclear parts of a nuclear submarine, like a bush pilot in the like American and Canadian wilderness, right? Like, and then a nurse. And those were all people in our union. And we were all learning the same lessons that were being taught to us, because again, all of our fights are related here, right? And you never take away more that like we're one union than moments like those where you're just like, you're just sitting arm like side by side with people that you're just like, I did not expect to ever be in this situation, but here we are, and this is pretty cool actually. So yeah.
Y- Yeah, I mean, you have more in common with the nurse on the picket line than you do probably
That's
the
it.
CEO of your company.
That's
So,
it.
and that's where we are. Solidarity, when I say solidarity is the answer, it is. At the end
Hmm.
of the day, the labor movement's getting more and more powerful because people are recognizing that this collective will, this kind of like pride of lions getting together and taking
Yeah.
back what's ours. So that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Dannel, we're almost going up to an hour. We usually shoot for like an
Okay.
hour to respect everybody's time, and we can go on
Totally. Yeah.
forever. We can go on forever,
Yeah.
but
I could I could talk about this forever. Trust me. Like I
so
said,
okay,
I'm a certified yapper.
we have a podcast dedicated to talking about this, so we can too. But I have an event I have to set up for. But is there any
Cool.
last words, or how do we support? How do they get
Uh,
more information on your guys' campaign? Any last
yeah.
words that you want to throw out here?
Yeah, great question. So, I don't know if you do show notes, but if you can put in the show notes, we have a website for our union. It's kickstarterunited.org. So kickstarterunited.org.
Hmm.
And on that page, you'll see how long we've been on strike. you'll see the moment that we get off strike, because we're software developers and workers in the tech industry, so we know how to update that website real fucking quick, right? And so and you'll see how you can help us out. We have a place where you can, even if you don't have any money to kick into our strike fund, we have a place where you can write in and support, and just send the message to management, hey, like, I think these workers deserve these things, like, but then uh, and it especially means a lot for us if you've ever been a person who uses Kickstarter, if you've ever backed a project on Kickstarter, if you've ever been a creator who's used Kickstarter, or someone who made a project on Kickstarter, like, that means a lot to us. And then last but not least, our solidarity fund, that is right on our front page. And it as as we've said, like, all know that the common strike refrain is one day longer, one day stronger. We have also co-opted that to say, because we're fighting for the 4-day work week, we've now started saying one day longer, one day shorter, which is a little confusing for some people.
That's awesome.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
That's our next commercial.
Yeah.
yeah, I know, right? And so then the last thing that I'll shout out on that is that, very frequently throughout the years, people have asked us, like, well, how do I organize a union in my workplace? Like, and I think that, there's so little media around how that happens. Like, there's no TV show that tells you how to organize a union. There's no movie that really does that, right? And so we took it upon ourselves to record, an oral history of our union and our union fight. And so that's right there on our website. If you look at, like, I want to say it's in, like, resources or something like that, but or it is in about, I want to say, about oral history, and you'll find there, it's like a 15 episode podcast, that one of our former organizers did to just tell the story of how our union came to be. And it's cool stuff. It's really well produced. You'll hear my voice more, so I'm sorry in advance. But but we're also recording, season 2 of that, which is about this contract fight and this strike. So that should be coming out here, hopefully, whenever we finish this contract fight. So yeah, lots of stuff there. But KickstarterUnited.org, that collects all of it, and follow us on our socials. We're active on, Blue Sky and Instagram and LinkedIn and Mastodon. You can find those on the website also. We're not active on Twitter, and people ask us this all the time. We just don't endorse the Nazi website. One of our founding principles for our union was to always punch Nazis, and we just don't feel that, old Herr Musk needs more of our time or attention in those things. So
There you go, Chris.
Well, that's another episode of Union or Bust. Thank you, Dannel. And, this is one of the best episodes. Learning a lot this episode, software engineers and platforming and how things work.